Hi, and welcome everybody to another edition of the Winner's Circle Sports Betting Podcast. I'm your host, Ross Benjamin. As always, late in the week, I'm joined by Mr. Doug Upstone of DocSports.com, one of the finest and most successful handicappers over the last 20 years, especially over this past year. He's been terrific, folks. Doug, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and how are you, my friend?
I am doing wonderful, Ross, and I come dressed for the occasion, red and green. So I'm good to go, and I will continue that. By the way, right up through. In fact, I used to. I'll be honest with you. Before I started actually doing this, or before when I was in the golf business, okay, I pretty much had a pretty strong distaste for Christmas, and the reason was because I was working in it.
Yeah.
Okay. And so, and for me, back in those days, I would basically work every day from Black Friday up through Christmas Eve. And so that got old.
Yeah, I can imagine
and,
so.
But now that I, do this, not that I work any less hours, but I can enjoy it more. So I'm much more of a Christmas person these days.
Absolutely. I mean, again, you're working on your own, and we're working in sports, which we both love, and we've become very good at sports betting over the last 2 decades. So, well, prior to that too, but anyway, when you love what you do, it makes a world of difference, Doug. Doug, I brought this up last week about the road teams in the NFL. It's been widely publicized. This has been a record year for how the road teams have fared compared to the home team against the home teams. And I went and dug even further, and I was very surprised to see this against the spread number. Road underdogs of 7 or less during the first 13 weeks of the NFL season, which is no small sample size. 56 and 29 against the spread. That's 65.1%, if my math is correct. And they won 45 of those 85 games straight up. So road teams have not only fared well straight up, they fared well as reasonably sized road underdogs. And boy, oh boy, I don't know what to make of that. All I could tell you, folks, and I'll hear Doug's opinion on this, and he has something he wants to touch upon as well. When you go over the course of time, when you see a trend like this, and I guess you could call it a betting angle, but it's because it involves all teams in one specific situation, but there's no other parameters around it, meaning are they coming off a win or coming off a loss, that kind of stuff. But just the road underdogs of 7 or less in general, Doug, when you go back to 1980 in my database, it shows it's nothing more than a 50-50 proposition. So this is the type of thing that could turn quickly. It could catch up in a matter of a few years' time, or I just find it hard to believe it's going to continue. But it's a talking point, because by no way am I trying to suggest that you should take every road underdog of 7 or less the rest of the way, nor am I suggesting you should go the opposite way in that situation. But it's really something that really caught my eye, and I found it quite amusing, to be quite honest with you.
You know what? I actually love in-season stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, historical stuff is great. Okay. And even stuff that's even over a couple of years, I like that. But every season has its own flavor. Okay. And so this particular element that you're talking about is that it just happens to be this year. And, like you said, who knows if it's going to continue or if it's going to stop. But if you're not paying attention to it and you're selecting games and you're not giving some consideration to this, okay, you are missing the boat. Okay. It's plain and simple. So again, I'm on board with you, Ross, but I'm doing exactly the same thing. Okay. And I have been for the last several weeks. Is that, when I come, I go through my normal stuff, go through my normal ways of looking at stuff. And then, I got a little notepad on the side here, and that's written right on there. Underdogs of road underdogs of 7 or less. All right. Let's look over these one. Let's be sure. Okay. And maybe there's something there that I'm missing. So I better be doubly sure. That's my job to do, just like it's your job to do, is to take the information that's available to you and use it to your best ability.
Yeah, and carrying it one step further, I'm a firm believer in season trends. And now I'm not talking about after the first 4 games, but when you get into the second half of the season, you take a look at stuff like that. And road underdogs of 7 or less, you might want to carry it one step further when you get in a situation like Doug just described and say, okay, there's a road underdog here of 7 or less in this particular game. I know how well they're doing, but how does a specific team do as a road underdog of 7 or less? Those are the types of things you expound upon just from the raw data. So yeah, good point. Doug, you had another talking point you wanted to bring up in terms of NFL betting.
Yeah, this is something that I have followed myself, Ross, for years. And, and I'll be the first to admit it doesn't win every single year, but it's a consistent winner. Okay. And it is this. Now it's a little, I guess you have to pay attention, okay, to it. So what I'm looking for is a team, and this would be any team that has either won or lost exactly 3 straight spreads. Okay. And there are no buys involved. Okay. So if there's a buy, that gets kicked out. Okay. Right. So far this season, if you look at those games, if you go the opposite way of the trend for the 4th game, it is 22-13 against the spread.
Which is solid. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what this actually is. It's pretty much solid every year. Now, sometimes it's in the low 50s, so it's not much of a difference. Sometimes like this year, it's better, but look for those. And there's a number of them. Okay. This weekend. So people, Ross likes to hand out assignments every now and again, or I should say Professor Ross likes to hand out assignments now and again. I myself occasionally will. I was a poor student, so I would never be a professor. But I like, those things are of interest, and those things, there's value in doing that. And part of the reason and why it's so consistent is that basically teams, there's like a threshold, and I don't know why it is in the NFL, but there's a threshold for the most part of how good or bad teams typically can play. Now, and it's only, by the way, it doesn't continue. It's not 4 games or more. It's not 5 games or more. It's only the 4th game. That's the only way to look at it. If it wins or loses beyond, then that's what it is.
Yeah. My personal opinion, without just listening to you, is I thoroughly believe teams in the NFL in particular to cover 3 straight games are etched in public the public bettors' minds. Okay. And what tends to transpire, I should say, is the odds makers are fully aware of that. They know that the public is seeing that they've covered the last 3 games, and sometimes they make an adjustment based on their predicting what public perception is going to be. So as a result, those teams coming off 3 straight ATS wins might be what we like to use the term overvalued. And that's what I see. I mean, I don't have any specific data in front of me that would support that, but that's certainly how I would make sense of that. But Doug, that's a very good talking point. And one, now that I get off the show with you, I'm going to explore on my database and see just how long that goes. Now, Doug made a good point, as opposed to what I brought up, 56-29 against the spread this season for road underdogs of 7 or less. He's saying 22-13 against the spread this year, which I believe is over 60%, if my math is correct. And he's also saying this type of trend or angle goes beyond just this year. So I'm going to explore that, Doug. Very good talking point, as always, my friend. Anyway, Doug, you got a free pick for us, and you got things to do, like Doug says. We got things to do, so let's get right to it.
All right, we're going to jump right in, and we're going to go with a big rivalry game. And I got that out, by the way. So Kansas City and the Raiders, okay, from wherever they've been. Now, last week, I had a loser on the show with the Raiders because they couldn't even play good football for a half, okay? So, you know what? I'm not I might not be the sharpest knife in the drawer, but I'll tell you what, I'm sharp enough. All right. So this one, I'm looking at this Raiders team. They started 3-0 and 5-2. They've lost 4 of their last 5. in terms, so they're really disappointing their backers and stuff like that. And even after they had the overtime win against Dallas on Thanksgiving to give a glimmer of hope, okay, to maybe they could turn around their season. They were, 6-5 after that game. No, last week they put it out using a fire hose on a flickering candle, Ross. Okay. To me, it was a disaster just how they played. That's in their last 4 setbacks. Everybody's talking about Derek Carr passing offense. In their last 4 setbacks, they have scored 16, 14, 13, and 15 points and averaged only 243 yards passing. So I'm not saying what John Gruden did. Okay. I'm not excusing anything, but I can tell you one thing. He would be a far better coach for this team right now than what they got going on. Okay. They have a terrible offensive coordinator who was a failure before. And even though their current interim head coach might be a nice guy, he's not going to get the job done. Kansas City, their defense has improved markedly. Their offense hasn't, but their defense has. Healthier players, few different schemes brought in. So they're a completely different defense. And the last time these teams played, which was in Sin City, Kansas City won 41-14, which is also their best offensive output in quite a while, before or after. And part of that was because every other team has has played Kansas City has used basically 2 deep safeties. But no, the Raiders are smarter than everybody else. We don't need to do that with our defense that is average at best. So Kansas City scored 41 points. And if you're thinking about revenge, okay, with the Raiders, well, they're 19-39 against the spread in a revenge situation in which the opposing team scored 28 or more points. I just mentioned Kansas City scored 41. And to finish this off, Ross, KC, with that improved defense, they're 8-1 against the number after allowing 17 or fewer points in 2 straight games, winning by a ultra impressive 15.3 points per game. So am I afraid of a 9.5 point spread with Chiefs at Kansas at home against the Raiders? Not a chance. Give me the Chiefs, Ross.
Yeah. I mean, I thought this jumped right out at me when I looked at this line. I thought it was a heavy line. And when I say that, it's like they're begging you to take the underdog in this situation. Yeah, the Raiders are playing with revenge. But like Doug said, you look at the dynamics within this Raiders organization and team right now, it's not very good. I mean, you have pretty much a lame duck head coach, because I don't think they've done enough or shown enough under his guidance where they would seriously consider bringing him back as a head coach next year. Hey, you're in Vegas. You know what I mean? You're in the spotlight now. You're going to look for a big name head coach. Say what you will about John Gruden, like Doug alluded to, the guy was a brilliant offensive mind, and you could definitely see the correlation between when Gruden was there and the offensive numbers that were being put up, including Derek Carr's numbers, compared to right now. So in any event, Doug likes Kansas City minus the 9.5. It is, Doug, I believe.
That's correct.
All right, over to Raiders. I'm going to look at the Buffalo and Tampa Bay game. So let's stop and think about this. Tampa Bay is a perfect 5-0 at home this year. Buffalo is coming off a Monday night performance. Even though they only lost 14-10, they were embarrassed because you know why? They lost that game despite only 2 attempted passes by New England in the entire game. Folks, you can go to a Pop Warner game right now. And you could go to Pop Warner games all year long and not see a team attempt 2 or less passes in a game. Okay. Even Air Force, Army, and Navy throw the ball more than that per game. So having said that, that's etched in the public's mind right now. Buffalo, look, they got embarrassed. They jammed it right down their throat. Tampa Bay is going to do the same thing. The weather conditions aren't going to be what they were in Buffalo last week. We're in a warm weather climate. They're going to be able to run the ball, meaning Tampa Bay, and then Tom Brady's going to have a field day and play action pass. Well, why is Tampa just a 3.5 point favorite in this game? And they opened at 4. All right. Another key element here. Doug talked about in-season trends. Well, I got one for you. Buffalo coming off a loss this year. They're 7-5. Their prior 4 games coming off a loss, they're a perfect 4-0 straight up in ATS, and they won by 25 points per game. I'm not suggesting that kind of victory margin is going to happen in this particular instance. Right now, I just want to beat the number. I want to take a contrarian approach here. I think that too much is being made. I see a lot of criticism about Buffalo's offense last week, but the bottom line is they haven't been able to run the ball all year. Okay. And secondly, how could you judge their passing game last week in the weather conditions that were there? I thought Josh Allen actually threw the ball pretty well with that strong arm in those weather conditions. The problem was Doug couldn't throw anything over the middle in that game because the crosswinds, who knows where it would have ended up. So you saw a lot of passes to the boundary. That's obviously not going to be the case this week. This is going to be an exciting game. I think it's going to go right down to the wire, much to many better chagrin out there who have already tabbed Tampa Bay as being a blowout winner here. So I'm going to take a shot here, Doug. I'm going to take the Buffalo Bills plus the 3.5. I would not be shocked if they won the game outright, but I certainly am not going to pass up the points being afforded to me. I'm going to take Buffalo plus 3.5 against Tampa Bay. And Doug, he likes Kansas City minus 9.5 over them there Las Vegas Raiders. And Doug, what do you got going on this week at Doc Sports? How you been doing in basketball? Fill everybody in on where they can find you, how you've been doing, and what you got coming up.
Sure. Doug, it is Doug Upstone at DocSports.com. So that's real simple. Coming off a nice 3-0 weekend in the NFL. So that was good. Hit my top play. So my top plays in the NFL or best bets this year, 10-3, 76%. So I got another 7-unit play locked and loaded, all ready to go. So that's going to be good. Hockey has been very good to me, even though I've lost 3 times in overtime recently, Ross, which, that never seems to
What is your
me.
overtime record, Doug?
You know what? I think it's 80 some games. I forgot to look 80 some games below 500, but I can tell you in the last 27,
it's just unlucky.
I've lost 18 of the last 27 in overtime.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to continue to go on that because it's the holiday season. Why would I want to get this upset and get my blood pressure flowing yet again? Yeah. So I'm going to let that go. But hockey's been very good. 64% in hockey most recently. I will admit basketball, both the NBA and college basketball started and struggled. Okay. The last 10 days, both of them are trending the other way. So I just kind of mucking along here a little bit, but you know what? Especially in college, I think once I get into the conference season, that's when things will really turn around, and that has been fairly typical for me from that standpoint. And the NBA, it's just its ball just hasn't bounced my way. There's just any number of indication or situations where that's been the case. So you know what? I'm 100% like Ross talked about earlier, like how he turned around his college football season. Well, that's what I'm expecting to do in both of those sports coming up. But, we're talking NFL. So I got some big stuff going to NFL, including, like I said, best bet and a four pack of NFL plays this week.
So they could find you once again
that is at Doug Upstone at DocSports.com.
All right, Doug, all good, buddy. And I could tell you right now, folks, between the both of us, we beat our chests when we win, obviously, because we're our own promotional company too, so you have to say when you're doing well. But one thing we do is we're very transparent. If we're having a bad year, if we're losing, we fess up, you know what I mean? And I got off to a terrible start, like Doug said, in college football. The last 5 weeks of the college football season, which include championship week last week, I've gone 26-13. Bowl season is upon us. Me and Doug will be talking about bowl games on Monday, so you don't want to miss that show. And also, folks, the last 2 Sundays in the NFL, I've gone 8-1, 3-0 last week, 5-1 2 weeks ago. So things are rolling in the NFL. In all sports, I'm on a nice run. 36-24, 60% in all sports with my last 60 picks that I've put out. So all good. And you could find me at rbwins.com. By the way, folks, I got a special going on right now. It's going on through Saturday, December the 11th, 50% off any subscription plan. That's weekly, monthly, or annual. please don't call me and want to 50% off on a daily package that's $35, because the answer is no. Okay, so weekly, monthly, or annual packages, 50% off until Saturday. You have to call me for that. You can't buy online. I accept all major credit cards. You could also send me payment through PayPal if you wish, but you'll have to call me direct, 781-571-0299. I employ no salespeople. You talk to me and me only. There's no negotiation, folks. It's 50% off. At this time of year, I don't have a lot of time to chit chat on a personal level. So if you call me, be ready to take out your credit card. We'll get it done, and let's make some damn money. That's rbwins.com. And Doug, you could find him at docsports.com as well. Until Monday, when we return with our college football bowl free picks for next week, for Doug Upstone and Ross Benjamin, we like to wish each and every one of you a very happy and safe holiday season. Good luck and God bless, folks.